If you want comfort, go read a cookbook. If you want transformation, welcome to the Strange Sculpting Podcast. I'm Don Strange. We kill excuses, prioritize protein, and build discipline. Let's get to work.
Welcome to the Strange Sculpting Podcast. Today, I'm going to sell you guys on the idea of sleep. I don't like to sleep. Actually, I love to sleep. That's a lie. I love to sleep. However, I don't sleep as much as I used to. And now I got this cool Oura ring that I wear all the time, and it tells me how little sleep I actually get. And last week, I text Kory. This is why it spawned this podcast on sleep. I'm just going to tell you what did it. I text Kory, and I said, right after I text him, I said, sorry for the early text. It was 4:13 a.m. I had been up since 3 o'clock in the morning. Sorry for the early text. But I have a feeling if anyone is up this early other than me, it's you. He texts me back a minute later. He said, you're correct. Anyway, that's the reason why I spawned, because if I think if anybody lacks sleep, it's probably my co-host today, Kory Eggleston. Because I find high achievers, I'll tell you this before I started too. One of my mentors several years ago told me, sleep is for losers. I mean, I tell you what, the more I research, there is a small segment of the population that doesn't need sleep, but I'm not one of those guys. I don't know if you are, Kory, but we'll get down to the bottom of it. This could be a lecture for you. It might be, it might not be. But I will tell you, if you know someone lacks sleep and they're not losing weight and they're not sleeping and they're not losing weight, there is a correlation, and it possibly could be a connection and could be the reason why they're not losing weight. So stick around. We're going to get to it. Kory, does any of that resonate with you before I start with my point one? Does any of that resonate with you?
For sure. I think I'm definitely I'm on the front end of the hours that you need for sleep. I probably range anywhere from, I probably get about 6 to maybe 7 if I'm lucky a night. But that's by design. I try to be asleep between 9:30 and 10, and I'm up at 3:45. So yeah, I'm somewhere around there. I try to always get 6, and I think that's kind of the sweet spot for me.
You know what, though, what you just said there, and I'm not going to, if you have an Oura ring, you'll realize the difference between, because you counted all the times you're in bed, not the sleep time.
Yeah.
You get the Oura ring and it tells you exactly what you sleep. And it's disheartening. And I know it's right because it shows every time I wake up. And it's like, oh.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be in bed like 12 hours a day. Okay.
No.
I got 4 points, 5 points. I'm going to throw in a bonus one. 5 points I'm going to give you guys today that's going to shake you to the core and make you second guess not getting more shut eye. Point number 1, sleep loss equals insulin resistance. If you know anything about weight loss, you want to make sure you have a good relationship with insulin. Here's this study. It's by The Lancet in 1999. Researchers took healthy young men and they did something to these people. They didn't change their diet. They didn't change their exercise. They just changed one thing, and that's the sleep, Kory. For 6 nights, they limited men to only 4 hours of sleep per night. That's it. Same food, same bodies, but their metabolism changed. In less than a week, the poor sleep people, the people that only got 4 hours sleep, their bodies handled only about 40% of the carbs. Their insulin response dropped about 30%. In plain English, this is what this means. Their bodies suddenly processed food like someone who was on the road to diabetes. If you remember nothing, remember this. Nothing changed about their diet, only over their calories, just the sleep. And if you think about that, whenever that happens, your body is going to make insulin no matter what. Whenever you have whenever you have carbs, and during the sleep cycle, your hormones change. And whenever your body's not using insulin to shuttle energy into the muscles, it's going to shuttle that energy somewhere else. It's going to put it right into the spot that you want to lose fat. So I think people miss that. Obviously, I've known it, but that's very stark. Just 4 hours sleep for 6 days did that to normal people. Fat loss isn't about how much you sleep, how much you eat. It's about how your body handles what you eat. And so sleep deprivation can make the cravings, or it can make your body handle carbs way worse. Anyway, Kory,
Yeah.
does that resonate with you at all?
Yeah, and I think like so I would say for me, like I said, I definitely try to get about 6 hours of sleep. 4 hours, if I was getting 4 hours of sleep for 6 consecutive days, I'll take it from like just my mindset of perspective. What's going to happen after probably day 4 hours of sleep the next day, I might be okay. But day 2, your body's not recovering, right? Because sleep's when your body's going to recover. So no matter if you don't, even if you don't change anything, your exercise, right? Your workout is not going to be as efficient because you're not going to be able to work out as hard or exercise as hard because you got 4 hours of sleep. And then day 3, like you're again, same thing. It's going to get worse and worse. So I definitely understand what that's saying there, because again, while you're sleeping, your body's recovering. And if you're not giving your body more than 4 hours to recover from, so you're up for 20 hours. So you're putting stress on your body constantly for 20 hours. You're giving it 4 hours to recover. There's no way. I mean, I totally understand all of those points, how your body's going to stop processing, glucose and things like that the way it should, because now it has less and less time to recover to be able to do those things throughout the day. So that's kind of like what I'm thinking of as far as like, I know like if I get less than 6 hours one night, the next day I'm usually okay. But if it happens for consecutive nights, I feel like crap. You know what I mean? So so I definitely understand what you're saying to that regard.
Well, whenever you do that too, I'm just gonna keep making points, because all that's going to add to an end result nobody really wants at all, because it's fat gain and muscle loss. But I'm sure you've heard of the stress hormone cortisol. The next point is sleep loss keeps cortisol elevated. The second study I looked at was from the Endocrine Development in 2010. Your body runs on a daily rhythm. Cortisol is your main stress hormone. It's supposed to follow this pattern. High in the morning when you wake up. You ever wake up? I know this now. I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm wide awake. Some people, it takes 45 minutes, but eventually within an hour of wake, they're wide awake. That's cortisol. Mm-hmm. And then slowly it falls off throughout the day. Your cortisol level should not be high in the evening. By evening, it should be down, and your body should be well into recovery. But sleep loss disturbs that pattern. Researchers found out that when people accumulate sleep debt, that's a new term, by the way, that I just recently started hearing. The evening cortisol stays elevated instead of dropping like it should. In other words, the body stays in stress mode longer. The stress mode tells your system the one thing, protect energy. That shift changes hunger signals, blood sugar control, and metabolic balance, which means cortisol stays elevated. The body starts defending weight harder. You're not broken. You're stressed. I mean, everybody, how many people do you know? Everybody knows about cortisol, and they always want to keep cortisol levels low. And everybody that knows knows a little bit about fat loss. We want to control those cortisol levels. Why? Because your body is way better at burning energy whenever cortisol is low. Go ahead. What do you guys?
And I'll go from like a competitor standpoint, right? I mean, the one thing that you always told me, and my previous coach told me the last 4 or 5 weeks, we got to keep our cortisol levels low because you're trying to trim every last bit of fat off of your body, and if your cortisol levels are just a little bit elevated, you're not going to be able to get rid of that last bit. So you need to make sure that you're trying to get as much sleep as possible while still hitting your exercise and all your meals and things like that, because if you're stressed out, your sleep's going to suffer, your recovery is going to suffer, and then your physique, obviously, if you're a competitor, is not going to be as great as it can be. So yeah, cortisol definitely factors into that regard. But anyone that is trying to lose weight, right, and if they're at a high stress job or they got X, Y, and Z going on, they're worrying about that, and then but they're like, oh well, I'm eating right and I'm exercising, but they're not going to be able to lose weight either at the rate they want to or at all if they aren't sleeping enough and allowing their body to recover and those cortisol levels to come down.
Yeah. You know what's fascinating about cortisol levels too? If like the name of the game when it comes to weight loss, it's a math problem. So if you bring in 2,000 calories and you burn 2,500 over the course of 7 days, you lose 1 pound. The deal is it might not be fat. What cortisol does is, number one, first of all, if you lost, you create a 500 calorie deficit. But because of the sleep, your cortisol levels are raised. It's throwing all your hormones off. Now you might gain 3 or 4 pounds of water because your body's so stressed out and wants to hang on to everything. And then you actually drop a pound, but you don't even see it on the scale because your cortisol levels are high and you brought in all kinds of inflammation. I know a guy, I told him the other day, I said, man, before you started the 40-day fix, you got a Buddha belly. And it was just a lot of inflammation, a lot of cortisol.
Yeah.
And then within a week, it was gone. And he thinks it's all fat. He thought it was all fat. It wasn't all fat. It was mainly water, and cortisol levels were high. He stressed out, and it was making him, and not just stressed out physically because he probably wasn't, or mentally. He was stressed. His body was stressed, and it was making him hold on to water weight. Also, whenever cortisol levels are high, we'll get to the next point. We'll get to the next point. I'm going to shut up right now. Okay, point number 3. Lack of sleep equals less fat loss. Study from the annals of internal medicine. I like saying that word. Annals of internal medicine. I'm immature. Researchers put people on a controlled calorie restricted diet. Everything was the same calories, same food, same people. The only thing they changed was sleep. One group slept 8.5 hours per night. The other group slept 5.5 hours a night. Both groups lost the same amount of weight. But here's where it gets interesting. The well-rested group lost mostly fat. The sleep-deprived group lost much less fat. In fact, the short-term sleep group lost about 55% less body fat. Instead, their bodies burned more lean muscle tissue. In simple terms, the scale moved, but the body burned the wrong fuel. Here's a lesson. Fat loss isn't just about losing weight. It's about what kind of weight you lose. But when sleep drops, the body becomes worse at burning fat and more likely to break down lean muscle tissue. Same calories, different outcome, because sleep doesn't just affect how tired you feel. Sleep affects your body on how your body decides what fuel to burn. That one is startling, man. That's a big difference. And it makes sense to me, though.
Yeah.
I
I think it's like what we've just kind of been talking about is like that recovery mode is like you've got to allow when you're sleeping, right? You got to allow your muscles. Because if you're, let's say, when you work out, right, you are stressing your muscles, right? So let's say I'm doing bicep curls right now. Oh man, so my biceps are thinking, right? My mind's telling my bicep muscles, hey, you're stressed out. We need to grow in order to handle this added stress, right? And that's why over time you should be able to lift a little bit more weight because your body is telling your muscles they need to grow because we're under the stress. We're under the stress. We need to grow. We need to grow. So if you don't allow during sleep time, if you don't allow your body to completely just kind of shut down and your muscles have time to repair, then you're not going to be able to build that muscle that your body is thinking that it needs because it's been under distress. And so I think, like you said, so your body is then going to go to those, it's going to try to hang on to those fat reserves to keep those as energy in order to burn the muscle that you're trying to build.
Yep, it does it. Your body is the main thing your body wants to do is stay alive. It doesn't want to look like Statue of David or Ronnie Coleman. It wants to stay alive. In fact, in order to get your body to look like that, you got to trick it a little bit. And you also got to treat it right. One of those things you got to do is sleep. Point 4, one night of bad sleep hurts muscle building. Another study, Physiology Reports 2021. Researchers wanted to know what happened to muscle when you miss sleep. So they ran a controlled test. Healthy young adults did 2 conditions. 1 night with normal sleep, 1 night with no sleep at all. Then the researchers measured what happens inside their muscles the next day. This is wild, man. Here's what changed after just 1 night without sleep. Muscle protein synthesis dropped about 18%. Testosterone dropped about 24%. Cortisol increased about 21%. That's a small shift in the wrong direction. Muscle building slowed down, stress hormones went up, anabolic hormones went down. In other words, your body moved into a more catabolic environment, a state that favors breakdown instead of growth. 1 night, not 6 months. That is insane. Now,
Yeah.
this is all I'm selling you. I'm selling you one idea, guys. Sleep. It's just you're going to hear one more point, and then we're going to wrap it up. But sleep's important. That's fascinating. Muscle protein synthesis. Everybody wants to work out. You want to look like the statue of David. You got to quit robbing Peter to play Paul. Or no, you're not playing Paul. Pay Paul.
Now let's also give so this is the extreme, right? So that is like a normal 7 or 8 hours of sleep to getting 0 sleep. So, but again, it's if a prolonged period of time, if you're only getting 4 hours of sleep for a prolonged period of time, and rarely is it because you're so busy, right? I'm so busy, I'm gonna get 4 hours of sleep. It's usually because your sleep is like you can't go to sleep, right? So you're laying down, you got so many things, your mind's racing, or you fall asleep for an hour and you wake back up. And so there could be some sort of, again, hormonal imbalance that is keeping you from being able to fall into that deep sleep for 4 hours or whatever it may be. So I think that's what people need to think about. It's like, oh, well, like I said, like I go to sleep at, 9:30 and I wake up at 3:30. Okay. Well, there's, that's 6 hours. I'm good. I will say my sweet spot, I feel like my sweet spot of sleep is like when I can go to bed between probably about 10 and I can get up about 5:30. So that's 7.5 hours, right? That's like anything more than that. I feel like if I get more than 7 to 7.5 hours, I kind of feel just as crappy as if I only get 4 hours. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you can get too much sleep. People don't understand.
Oh, absolutely.
They're like, oh, well, I'm sleeping for 12 hours, so I'm good.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
No, not really. It's the same thing.
I'm glad you said that because this is not for the slothful. Hey, it doesn't mean you need to freaking be sleeping 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
You're not 16.
Exactly. Yeah, I know, right? So, we're not growing bodies anymore. But when you're trying to grow muscle, you do need that sleep. So, but yeah, so I think that's kind of my sweet spot. And I feel like I get to the gym about 6:15 in the morning. So I still like to go early. And I feel like that's my best. I'm putting my best foot out there. Now, I do sacrifice a little bit. I know that by getting up when I do to go work out. But the benefits for me, as far as like I'm still making progress, right? I still feel good. But like I've said this before, the reason I go so early, and I've said this in previous podcasts, is because then if I was going to go now, like this is when I'm on a podcast now, but a normal night, this is my family time, right? So we're sitting down, we're eating dinner, we're talking about our day, we're playing Uno, whatever it may be. And then I'm putting my kids to bed. So I don't want to sacrifice that. I get my oldest son off the bus every day after school. My youngest will be in kindergarten next year, so I'll get them off the bus together. So I don't like, I could definitely, my wife could do that. She works from home. She could definitely get them off the bus. But I like to do that just as a dad. So yeah, I could definitely go work out from 3:45 to 5, with the crowds. But I sacrifice a little bit to go early in the morning. So then I come home. They're just, I get home, I take a shower. They're just getting up so I can get them ready for school. And so, yeah, it's just, I feel like it's a good balance for me. It's not for everyone. I know that some people are like, you're crazy. Like I don't understand how you could do that. I've always been a morning person, dude. I would spend the night at my friend's house in elementary and middle school, and I'd be the one up at 6:30, like waiting for everyone else to wake up. So I've always been a morning person. And so it just works best for me. But everyone is different. I understand that. But if for me, the trade-off is good. I sacrifice a little bit of sleep so I can spend some time with my family. And that's what's
whenever I said that, I don't think you're sacrificing sleep because it's not,
no, and that's what
I think if you did, but there are people, there's tons of people that I train that they're going to get this. I'm going to send it to them because they don't sleep. They just like, I'm not sleeping. Well, you need to figure out why not. You know what I'm saying? Shut that
Yeah,
mind
yeah.
down.
I think the hormonal imbalance, people that have the hormonal imbalance that affects their sleep, that's definitely obviously an issue.
Oh, it's insane. So they need to get that, and also sleep whenever you're obviously this whole thing, everything we've talked about, a lot of hormones that are involved
Yeah,
with sleep, and so they're just making it they're making their problem even worse because they're not sleeping. If they did get to sleep, it'd probably reset a lot of those hormones,
for
but
sure.
they don't. I know this though. I'm glad I'm not a woman. I don't think a lot. I mean, just whatever I think comes out my mouth, you know. So when I'm sleeping, my wife always said, I would be sitting on the couch right after this. I'll go in, I'll unwind about 7:30. I'll be in bed by 8. I get up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And so typically I sleep by 9. But I'll be out there and sometimes we'll be watching TV. Man, I'll fall asleep and I'll wake up and I'll say, I was asleep. And she said, yeah, I know. I said, how do you know? Because you weren't talking. I said, wow, I talk that much. Good Lord. I wish I could get good at it. Okay. Next point 5. This is my last point. Less sleep equals more hunger. This one's wild. Major. Your body needs energy. And so if it's lacking sleep, it's going to try to pull in calories. Researchers, this is the biggest study, by the way. Researchers looked over 1,000 adults and measured 3 things: how long they slept, their hunger hormones, and their body weight. They compared the numbers. And what they found was simple. When people slept less, their hunger hormones shifted in the wrong direction. People sleeping about 5 hours instead of 8 hours had 15% lower leptin levels. And leptin level is a hormone that tells you your body you're full. And then 15% higher ghrelin levels. The higher ghrelin levels. That's a hormone that makes you hungry. And sleep dropped. And as sleep dropped, BMI tended to go up. BMI is just body mass index. The lower that number is, the skinnier you are. Here's a simple translation. Your body uses 2 hormones to control appetite, leptin and ghrelin. Leptin says, I'm satisfied. Ghrelin says, go eat. When your sleep gets cut short, leptin goes down, ghrelin goes up, which means you feel hungrier and less satisfied after eating. Less sleep makes you hungrier and less satisfied. Makes me want to go take a nap right now, to be honest with you. I think I'm gonna go to bed early after this one. I'll tell you that right now. You got anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's 100% accurate. I think that again, when I'll go back to my experiences like a contest prep. It's very important that even when you're feeling the rundown, right, that you're still sticking to your diet, you're still sticking to those things. So I think that going back to the first, all the points, right? So sleep increases hunger, sleep increases, decreases the hormones that you need. And so I think that's what then can lead to a lot of those other issues, because then you're not eating the foods that your body needs to recover, right? So you're going to go, I'm going to take it back to when, I was in college, right? And you go late nights, right? Late nights, you're out all night long. You wake up the next morning, dude, you're going to McDonald's, Taco Bell, you're getting, because you're like, oh, I'm so hungry. I need some food. The only thing that's gonna make me feel better is some tacos and a McMuffin or something. So, so you're putting all that crap in your body. That's not going to help your body recover. You're not putting the nutrients in your body that it needs to recover. And that leads back to the sleep. So it's all a cycle, right? So everything's going to affect something else. And what we're saying today is that the main factor it boils down to is the sleep. So if you get enough sleep, that will take care of a lot of the issues that you think you have, and that you may be able to resolve if you get enough sleep, right? So the crap food you're eating, right? The not being able to go work out, not having the energy levels, instead of throwing down, 8 cups of coffee or whatever it may be, a couple monsters. So again, yes, all of these things are factors into why you might not be achieving results, but it all boils down. One of the main things is sleep. And so let's fix that. And let's see if then that leads to some better results for us in our goals that we have down the road.
Mm-hmm. You said something interesting whenever you're in college. That's a perfect example, because you don't sleep, partying all night, and then and what do you want? All the bad food.
Yeah.
They used to call that the freshman 15. I think it's more like the freshman 50 now,
I mean, I definitely put on a solid 20 to 25.
Isn't that amazing?
Sure. It was
be said about this because I guarantee you weren't getting any sleep.
No, I was not. And I was eating all the dining hall foods and all sorts of stuff. I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah. I went to at one point, I think when I was buying some jeans, I think I got up to about for me, right? This was best. So I got up to about 36 waist. And now I've been sitting and that was, at 22, 23 years old, or 20, I'll say 21, right? 21, 22 years old. And now I'm 30, 36 years old, I'll be 37 in July. And I've been sitting at a 31 waist for the past 5-6 years. I'm not going back.
That's great. I remember when I had a 28-inch waist. Now I'm 32.
I get there during prep. You know that. I get down to about 29, 28. And I sent you a picture. I said, this is why I don't like wearing belts. But when I prep, all my pants are, I'm not going to buy new pants because I'll be back in them, once. So.
Well, I remember you just pulled them up to your chest. That's the only way you could.
That's right.
That's the only way you get them to stay up.
Yeah.
So bottom line is sleep, right? I mean, we've discussed it. Whenever you don't sleep, insulin sensitivity drops. Whenever insulin sensitivity drops, your body handles carbs worse, much worse. Cortisol level rises whenever you sleep. And don't sleep, testosterone goes lower. Visceral fat increases. That's a fat that chokes your organs, the one the doctors tell you about all the time. And then muscle retention becomes harder. If you're doing this, if you listen to this podcast, I know you value that precious muscle. So get your sleep in. Also, you can't believe it, Kory. I forgot to tell people about my book. Right above Kory, there's the link. That's what it's the QR code. Oh, my God, it's a great book. QR code to get my book. Get it. It's the foundational principles for nutrition and fitness. Literally, you'll never not do that. It's a quick fix, but it's the only quick fix that lasts forever. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. If you did, I want you to like, share, and subscribe it. And Kory will be back next month with a brand new episode that stimulates your brain. Get some sleep, guys.
Stop thinking and start doing. Information without execution is just entertainment. You have the truth. Now go do the work. Your body isn't lazy. Your excuses are. Get the tools you need at strangesculpting.com.